I just can't seem to bring myself to revisit Street Fighter V until I'm at least a whole season behind. So here we are. Season 3 in particular has been hugely requested, and if the buzz is to be believed, it's because many people seem to think Season 3 has the worst animation of the game so far. I've been casually looking at Season 3 animations, and I don't believe that's the case at all. In fact, the newer characters feature far more nuance and expressiveness than previous seasons ever had. So I can only conclude that if people are saying Season 3 animations are bad, it's probably because of Falke. But since I never really listen to popular opinion anyway, I'm gonna take the dive and see what the real deal is. Let's take a shot at Season 3's first of two newcomers, Falke. Falke is yet another Shadaloo clone baby, born in a lab with inherent psycho-power abilities and groomed to be a spare body for M. Bison, continuing the dictator's lifelong quest of reincarnating into a cute girl. After Ed rescues her from a lab, she joins Ed's side as his aide and helps him found Neo Shadaloo, a rogue group of former Shadaloo victims who are dedicated to rescuing other victims of Shadaloo's experiments and destroying what remains of their evil legacy. Unfortunately, this is pretty much all the story mode gives me, which means I'm left to guess the rest of Falke's character. However, I've learned over time that the crux of any Street Fighter character's story is defined by what fighting really means to them. Ryu fights to confront his insecurities and master his sense of self. Some fight as a form of self-expression. Some fight to fulfill a hunger. Some fight for, Falke fights purely for survival, for herself and for her crew. She sees fighting as a means to an end and takes a practical, logical approach to combat. She sometimes takes the demeanor of a trainer or a drill instructor, never really concerned with her own strength, but instead helping others to grow strong. But then there's other times with Ed where she seems more playful and coquettish, and other times where she seems to act like a frightened child with PTSD from her Shadaloo days. She's also kind of Ed's mom sometimes because Ed is a useless baby who can't do anything. I suppose the short of it is that Falke is supposed to be the reliable older sister type. Unfortunately, this makes her a satellite character to Ed, as she is entirely defined by her ties to him. Speaking of unfortunate ties to Ed, let's take a look at her costume. I find it weird to examine this costume because it's literally just Ed again. Everything from the large collar to the long coat to even the hair is just Ed 2.0. And if you put them side by side, you'd swear you were looking at a Rule 63 Ed. What's really funny about all this is that Falke wears the costume better. There are some specific details that are cut or simplified because girl that actually work in Falke's favor. Removing the undershirt and the random ascot tie for simple cleavage not only reduces the visual clutter of the collar area, but it provides some value contrast against Falke's sheet white skin. Removing the baggy pants underneath the coat lets the coat tails provide the bell shape without overpowering the shape of Falke's slimmer legs. Most excitingly, Falke is actually wearing a sensible hat. The weird, unflattering turquoise that Ed wears has been changed out for a darker navy blue, which works better with the gold trims and the red inner lining. There's also this curious yellow and red stripe that appears on her left ankle and on the bottom of her staff, which gives a subtle nod to her German heritage. But most importantly, the large articles of clothing do not conflict with Falke's animation the way that Ed's coat and cape constantly clash with his fast-moving boxing moves. But what's good for her costume might not be good for her animation. Many have noticed and pointed out to me that her animations are a bit stiff. I wouldn't go as far as to say they are bad in the same way that Mortal Kombat animations are bad, because Falke's moves aren't lacking any fundamental animation principles the way Mortal Kombat animations do. Yes, there's this silly walking thing that people have pointed out to me, but pretty much every character looks silly when they shimmy, so it's not unique to Falke. Ironic that this came to my attention because Falke's walk cycles are probably my favorite of her animations. But if the actual animation isn't bad, then perhaps it's the style. Or more accurately, the lack of style. Her official listed fighting style is Bojutsu, a Japanese form of staff fighting that focuses on more orthodox strikes and swings compared to the more elaborate flourishes and graceful acrobatics seen in Chinese staff fighting. Still, Bojutsu is about striking hard and decisively, which Falke does not appear to be doing either. If anything, her posture and movements remind me more of ROTC rifle routines, which would make sense because her main visual gimmick is that she treats her staff like a gun. but more noticeable than anything is the rigidness with which Falke moves. She always maintains a straight posture, and she never overswings or puts her full force behind any of her attacks. She's more or less prodding opponents with the staff rather than striking with it. If you think about how this relates back to her character, this may have to do with her role as a trainer and a mentor whose primary concern is always to help others grow stronger. So in this way, her animation is actually relevant to her character, which is a shame because her character just isn't very interesting. And yes, I will concede that she has the most boring critical art in the whole game. I was honestly hoping I could unravel some interesting themes or discover some relevance between Falke's playstyle and her character the way I did with Colleen and Zeku, but honestly I'm coming away from Falke more underwhelmed than anything. Which is a shame because Falke does at least hold the distinction of somehow salvaging Ed's awful design, but in the end she's just Ed's sidekick and nothing more. I wouldn't say that Falke is a bad character, Street Fighter has definitely done worse, but I really just can't bring myself to care about her. With regards to her fighting style and her story relevance, she's just boring. And try as I may, I can't really say anything else about her. Falke really got the short end of the stick. That's all for today's Design Shop. Don't forget to give this video a like, and let me know what you think about Falke in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more anime and game content from SugarPunch. Our channel is supported entirely on Patreon, so we never have to run ads. So be sure to check it out and lend us your support and get early access to all of our future videos. I'm A.B.I, and next time, we're taking to the podium to address the State of the Union.